Morning at the market.
And you're in it.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
Well, welcome everybody. Might as well get started. It's 9 o'clock. We should have a few more people trickling in. Um, but why don't we get started? We're going to hear a little bit about circular economy and how we might apply some of these principles locally, and just excited to see some new faces here. So I'm going to be quiet and hand it over to Tom, MC, and Kendra to kind of tell us what you're up to.
All right. So should we just introduce ourselves and then maybe I don't know who wants to go first after that.
You're you're up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we've done that. All right. Well, I've been I'm the market manager of the Meridian Township Market. And one of the things, I mean, there's many great aspects to the market for sure. But one of the sort of side effects of having almost, somewhere between 70,000 people come to this one space, get food, often food that's ready to eat, is that it generates a lot of waste. And that is both a negative impact of the market and a cost to the township. And it's not, it doesn't meet sort of sustainability goals that having a local food economy, I think, kind of strives for in spirit in many ways. So I've been looking at the idea of trying to reduce that waste. I personally, for a couple of weeks, I think back in 2023, went through all the trash cans and sort of sorted everything and tried to figure out what kind of waste we had. And there was a lot of styrofoam, a lot of plastic clamshells, and a lot of drinking containers, just the plastic clear drinking containers, a fair amount of aluminum, and a lot of paper, and then food scraps. And so that, in conjunction with knowing that we did have we've already started this food waste and food scrap organics sort of program, and knew that we could sort of shunt some of that food waste and the soiled paper goods and that sort of stuff into that stream. What do we do with this other material? Because I'm looking at the plastic and all is soiled with food waste, and the only way that any recycler would ever touch that is if I were to take it home, wash it, and clean it, and then get it ready to take to a recycling space. And probably the embodied energy in cleaning that plastic for a single use item it's just a step backward. And much of the styrofoam probably wouldn't be usable at all, because the oils and other things from the food waste from the food gets into it, and then it's probably scrap and not even usable in the styrofoam recycling. So so what do we do with this plastic material? And so I've been thinking about the idea of either I think I initially was trying to figure out, okay, how can we just make all of those just single-use items that are at first just consumed at the market, which would be the food from food trucks and the restaurant tents and other places at the market. How can we get them to use compostable material? And so all of the drinking containers, the trays, the clamshells, all the hot food serving containers could be compostable, and so that we could just get that all into that waste stream that would then be turned back into compost. And so that kind of was the start of thinking about how can we at least eliminate it down into a food waste and compostable stream of waste generated, and a recyclable and reusable stream. So there's glass, there's aluminum, and then pretty much everything else would then be compostable.
Tom?
Yes.
We did not give people intros. I was wondering if you three could just briefly introduce yourselves,
okay.
so we have a little context of who's here.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought
that's
that
okay.
Was done.
No, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry about all of that. We can dive back in, but I'm Tom Cary. I'm the market manager from Meridian Township Farmers Market. And with me is, well, I'll just hand it over to MC and you can introduce yourself.
Cool. Thanks, Tom. I got to know Tom because of the market and was recently in a program with Next Cycle Michigan with Takeout, who was Kendra.
Kendra, do you want to introduce yourself?
Am I talking? I wasn't sure if that was a full sentence. Okay. Because you didn't say you're with Eastside Compost. I was waiting for that.
You just did. It was great.
Anyways, I met MC through Next Cycle Michigan. I was already using Eastside Compost before I knew we both got accepted into Next Cycle Michigan. So I am with Takeout. My mission is taking the trash out of takeout. I supply reusable food containers, and the hope is to launch a pilot with the Meridian Market in 2025 with a select few vendors. And so my company will be the one that's responsible for tracking, collecting, sanitizing, and redistributing back to market vendors and keeping our supply chain local, reducing emissions that way, reusing these so they don't end up in landfills, and they're reusable up to 1,000 times. And with Next Cycle Michigan, this person isn't here today, but I did meet somebody who can also give these a new life once they need to be retired. And so, yes, that's what I've been working on. I'm working with the market vendor Abundance Cafe for the last 2 years as a pilot program. And so far we've kept roughly 4,000 items out of landfills. And so I'm really looking to expand.
Thank you. Would Sean or Tony want to say a word or two? Maybe Sean left for a second to correct his angle. Sorry to interrupt you, Tom.
No, I misunderstood when you gave me the mic.
And you did a nice job of summarizing. I think that was a great intro, Tom. Keep going.
Well, thanks. And so and I think Kendra, you've hit on sort of the next sort of thought is that, okay, we can break it down into these waste streams of compostables and but then I feel like a gravity problem. Anyway, and so and starting to talk with Kendra about a longer term solution, the idea of really shifting away from compostable vehicles, I guess, for food to be consumed at the market to reusable, started generating some new ideas and a little bit different direction. And so that's kind of where we've started moving now, is exploring how can we take this diverse set of different vendors that show up once or twice a week, who are coming with both, with prepared food, lots of different containers, and move to a system where, at least at first, those containers that are largely used for food consumed at the market could be made available, kind of like a cafeteria, where a person would get their utensils, they would get their cups, their bowls, whatever, go to the vendor, get their food, and then after they've consumed the food, they would, much like any other cafeteria, they would end up going to a place where they could then be collected, taken off site, cleaned, and then made ready for the next market. Which would, is just a different approach. And so, I think there's a lot of benefits to this. I don't think the vendors really have a dog in the fight with regards to, I really, really want to be associated with this clamshell, or, this styrofoam tray is kind of like my marketing, whatever. They don't care, right? They are trying to find a vehicle for delivering food from their place to the person to consume it. And the easiest way we can do that with the least amount of footprint, I think, is, at this point, seems to be a reusable container strategy. And so the big question is, and the work ahead of us is, kind of ground truthing this and seeing if this is really a practicable strategy. It's great that cafeterias are out there, so we have this very easily conceptual model for a lot of people to go, oh yeah, okay, I get that. And but then, what does that look like financially? What does it look like for vendors who prepare food at offsite and then bring it already containerized? How do we excuse me, how do we manage that? Just, and the logistics and public acceptance, vendor acceptance, all those sorts of pieces. But at this point, we're just kind of trying to float this idea out there and see what sticks, see where we can start. Kendra has sort of taken an initial step and saying, okay, I want to focus on something that I can do at the scale I am right now, which is on cups. And maybe that's the way we go, is we figure out one piece of this puzzle is, okay, we're going to do cups and then make those sustainable and returnable, and figure that out and use that as our first educational, kind of practice in this direction. And so that kind of, in a fairly large nutshell, I don't know how nutshelly that was, but
you want to add to that, Kendra or MC or Sean?
Yeah, I can add to the cups idea. As you see, I do have clamshells and everything, and the vendor I work with right now, it's only once a week, and so it's been very small, and I'm borrowing a church kitchen. What I've learned through programs like Next Cycle is cups are the most cost-effective way. They're similar pricing to single-use cups, and a lot of other reuse programs found success with those first, and you don't need a lot of space to wash or dry them, which is why we've chosen this direction.
Sean, do you want to say anything?
Yes, good morning. First off, I have to promise I'm not from Australia. I don't know why I'm upside down. I'm sorry. I feel ridiculous, but here we are. So I even tried rebooting and it didn't work. So I'm sorry, but I'm Sean Barton. I'm with Hammond Farms with composting over here. So formerly over at MSU Surplus Store and Recycling Center. So happy to be joining you guys today. As far as like the Meridian farmers market, I love the idea of starting with cups and phasing in. I think that's a good idea. The thing on reusables I worry about is Michigan Food Code and adhering to all that.
Oh yeah, I've already I'm have conversations with the health department. Yes, I have variance templates. We're good.
Yeah. Leroy?
Yep.
Who other than the four of us are on this?
Well, do folks want to give a brief introduction? Anyone who feels inspired to do so? Starting with Sarah.
Hi, Sarah Ellen. I do a lot of environmental work in the area, working with Oklahoma schools and also environmental justice. I've been doing this since I was a little kid with my red wagon going around the neighborhood picking up recycling. So it's my ultimate passion, and I'm just trying to do all I can.
Thanks, Sarah.
How about Brian, Sam, and then Amanda? And
I'm Brian Shorkey. I'm the principal planner and community development for Meridian Township. I'm about 50 feet from Leroy right now.
That's close enough.
Hi, I'm Sam Lovell, and I'm close to retired landscape architect that's done environmental work pretty much all around Lower Michigan, but grew up in Meridian Township, so I've been attending these meetings just out of interest and about what's happening in my hometown, and where I can chip in a few thoughts here and there.
Hi, I'm Amanda Hathaway Frederelli. I'm an environmental planner at the Tri-County Regional Planning Commission, which focuses on Clinton, Eaton, and Ingham counties. And I coordinate the Greater Lansing Regional Committee for Stormwater Management, and also work toward the development of water trails in the region.
how about Tom, Kim, and then Bruce?
Yeah, good morning. Tom Frazier with the Meridian Environmental Commission and the Green Team.
Hi, Kim Peters. I'm a Hazlet resident, and I'm on the Green Burial Committee.
Hi, Bruce Peffers. I'm currently chair of the Corridor Improvement Authority for Michigan, or for Meridian Township. Also on the Grain Burial Committee and the Green Team.
And Tony, Roberta, and then Jennifer.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tony. I'm a second-year law student at the University of Michigan, but I live in Jackson. And my wife and I, we moved back. I grew up in Jackson, and I have some roots in Ingham County, but we moved back to Jackson a year and a half ago, and have started a nonprofit around land restoration and green burial. And I met Bruce and Kim last night at a talk in Livingston County, and they mentioned this is a great learning community. So I'm just kind of here to learn and listen.
Thank you. Roberta, do you want to say a word?
Sure. Good morning. Roberta McCall. I'm a citizen of Meridian Township, and I'm into green sustainability and recycling and whatever I can do to alleviate climate change.
And Jennifer, are you? Oh, we can't hear you, Jennifer. But anyway, thank you, everybody. We want to hear from Jennifer when she is available, because she's been doing a lot with composting. But thanks for asking. Whoever asked, who else is here? It's quite a group. So
can you hear me?
We can hear you now. Yep.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. So my name's Jennifer. I work for My Green Michigan. We do the food scraps drop off at the farmers market. And so I thought the subject matter or the topic of discussion today was interesting. So I figured I'd pop in and listen in.
Thanks so much. We've been having these green dialogues every week for the last almost 3.5 years, and they vary every week. If you've got a topic you'd like to bring to the group, please do. A special speaker. Next week is an open dialogue, and the week after, Tom Stanton is going to talk a little bit about Citizens for a, cafe. Not exactly. We're going to find out what that stands for, but some of you may know already.
I like
Capillary Friends of the Environment, I think it is. Okay, take it back, Tom, or MC, or Kendra, or Jennifer, or Sean.
Well, I guess I do want, yeah, I'd like to underscore too that some of this, I didn't want to gloss over the fact that we did start this food scrap composting program in conjunction with My Green Michigan and Hammond Farms. Jennifer has been really helpful. And we've also been having conversations with Jennifer as we were starting to go down this compostable materials sort of pathway, which I don't think is out of the question or anything, but it's just one of the many directions we can go as we're starting to get away from single-use disposable material. And there are many really nice opportunities out there, systems out there for where you can have at a kiosk where you could get these compostable forks, spoons, and knives, and kind of take that away from the vendors having to own that. So there's probably a mix of different things that we might be exploring as we go forward to see how we can start to implement this kind of cafeteria idea.
Yeah, and Tom, let me just offer, I think that one of the reasons we landed on the reuse was because there is that prioritization, like reduce, reuse, and then recycle. And I think the composting gets into the recycling. And so I think we're trying to say, hey, there's a priority for a reason. And I think we're trying to use the reuse piece, and right, because Kendra has takeout. It's like it's such a like a local economy thing too. That I think we're trying to understand, right, that the market does drive so much of the I'll say the small economy for small vendors, and so trying to keep that in the same vein is part of that.
For sure.
And I do wonder, I wonder if we just want to get feedback at this point, like from anyone who's on the call. Like, so Tom has shared, and maybe it's just this. I mean, we're really floating an idea, and it's like from the start to the finish, like it's trying to, if people have ideas about the next steps, or the ways that we, maybe questions that haven't been answered, or questions you have that could be answered, that may be a good use of our time here.
Right. Well, the question was asked about, I'm sorry, from the person from Hammond Farms, the guy from Australia.
Sean, hello. Yeah, not Australia, I swear. Yes.
No, you said something about some of the health department concerns with regards to reuse of reusables. And maybe Kendra could speak to that, because I think anytime somebody brings up a concern, that's obviously a hurdle we need to address and work on and think through. And maybe we could start with that as a
or ignore.
Well,
no, I've been in this. I can talk about it. So Michigan is currently operating under the 2009 FDA Food Code, and under that, reusables are not allowed by a third party. Currently, customers are allowed to bring their own containers, and a restaurant can put in food, but it kind of has to be like a plop in the container. Updated food codes, because I did just get Safe Serve certified. They do have new rules and regulations for reuse. Our food code just isn't the most current version. I've worked with Tiffin outside of Philadelphia. I've jumped on a call with them. They worked on their variants for their health department for like years, and she sent me what was finally approved. And yeah, there's also the Reuse Solutions Network. There's a group of us, we're working together on best practices and how to make this safe and healthy for everyone. And so we shouldn't have any problems.
Right. So just so I understand, what you're saying currently is that, let's say a vendor, the people, Fortune House, who sells egg, If fortunate offer a product in a reusable container, but they took it to the establishment, washed it, and brought it back for service.
Yeah.
That's the current code. But if you, as a second party, third party, I don't know what you, I guess.
Yeah, it's like, I don't even know if they can technically do that. It's with, the only thing that's technically allowed for reuse is things that don't have animal products. Because when I had my meeting with the health department, it's basically bread.
Okay.
But you can apply for a variance. You just have to send them the standard operating procedure and the health department will approve it. And like I've said, I've met other reuse business owners who encountered the same problem and they've come up with a standard operating procedure that was approved by the health department.
Okay. All right. So
Yep. It's more of just a hurdle that you have to surmount. You know, one bureaucratic red tape. Yes, it's for health and safety, but it's, you know, something to have to take into account.
Yep.
Yeah.
What other issues do people have? This is sort of an open dialogue. You want to chime in with your questions or suggestions?
Certainly open to people who want to put their shoulder to the wheel as well.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, not concerns, but also like push it forward. Like how can we make it? How can we make this work? What do we?
I have a question. Hi, Kendra. Nice to see you. Glad to hear that you are involved with the township, pushing this forward. I'm really excited about that. This is a very needed thing, I guess, here in the area. I think it's everywhere. So I do have a question about kind of like the logistical side. We have one customer, it's a college that is using kind of a system like this. They have like a machine installed outside of their cafeteria where somebody can grab, like put in a quarter, I think. They get a plastic clamshell, go in the cafeteria, fill it up, and then they bring it back to this machine and it gets cleaned somehow, and then they can get a clean one. So I didn't know, I guess, I don't know much beyond that.
That's Ozzy. I already know it's Ozzy.
Okay. I guess, like, what's your opinion on systems like that compared to kind of what you were doing and like the efficacy of like the different models that exist and just kind of like what works best in certain contexts, I guess? Because I would love to have this be available to more of our customers. Buying compostables are expensive. It's an additional cost. So if doing reusables is more cost effective for them in the long term, that would be a good option. And so like trying to navigate, I guess, the balance of like money, basically.
Yeah, it is challenging. I think that's one of the blessings of like not being first to market. I've been able to sit back and watch and learn through other people's mistakes, which is why I know cups work better. That's why I know that closed loop systems are a good place to start. And what I mean by closed loop systems, it's like where you stay and eat. It's like at an event center, at a stadium, things where people don't take the container home because we haven't scaled that far yet. As far as like machines and collecting, since I'm still like I don't have a machine yet. I don't know if I'll ever get a machine, but it might just be a cardboard drop-off box to start, and then I guess from there it'll depend on funding. I am also in conversations with somebody who started a vending machine that is circular in itself, where you can get your beverage and then return it to the machine, and her machine does clean it and redistribute it for reuse. I have that meeting in October. So that might be another option for beverages right now. Well, yeah, everything's up in the air with all my meetings.
I would be curious. I think there were maybe one or two people who introduced themselves as part of the green team. Oh, am I talking over
I can
someone?
hear you. You're good.
Okay. So there were two people, I think, in our group here who introduced themselves as part of the green team. And I wasn't sure if that's related to the green team market or like a general Hazlitt. And I'm just curious about the whatever Kendra was describing, like, is there a role if there is somebody here from the green team? I'm just curious if they're feeling called to whatever's being talked about right now, or just is there a way to understand what the green team, how the green team might contribute or be a part of whatever's trying to be rolled out?
I didn't specifically say that I was on the green team, but I am. And I just think, I think any of this kind of stuff fits into what we're trying to do in the township and in the whole region. So I think this is just mind-blowingly amazing to me. So I'm really excited. And I think for me, I think the farmers market is a really great place to start to try to figure that out and to educate, because oftentimes the people that are going to the farmers market are kind of already in that mind area of wanting to be locally grown and just already in that headspace. So I think trying to work on it in that space, I think is wonderful.
As a green team member, just really appreciate the work that Sarah and Tom Frazier and others have, just helped our recycling events. And now more recently, we expanded events at the market, and we want to do more of that. We also want to be thinking creatively about things we can do once a month or more at the market with Tom. Tom's been very open and encouraging to us, squeezed us into a busy market. And Jennifer's been involved with a green fair we did in the past, and sustainable home tour, and just we'd like to do more of this stuff, but it requires volunteers and a vision. Anyway,
I think this would be really good for the green fair too, where you've already started, but then when we do the green fair that we usually do in the summer, then you're actually educating and showing people what the actual process is. So you could have a table at the green fair where you can, explain what's actually happening when this happens. Where do the cups go? And then what do you do? And so much of this is about education. So much of this is about getting people interested in wanting to be a part, because they're learning why and they're learning how, and education. And that's partially what our green fair does, is trying to get people to understand by educating them.
Yeah. I wonder if I may, I'm speaking of education, right? I think I'm a food waste hauler with Eastside Compost, and because Sean and Jennifer are here, and because I think we're talking a little bit about the Meridian market, right? As part of the greater Lansing area, right? Meridian, I think, is a unique spot where there may be, let's say, more educated or maybe more people who understand it, but I think that education is always a problem. So it sounds like, and that's what I'm hearing, that education, we still need to educate. But I wonder if I could shift for just a moment, because I am really interested in connecting, right, the composting side of this. I think Tom's vision, right, we want to reuse, and we also want to and I'm sorry for calling it Tom's vision. I really want to make it the market vision, right? But the idea that what he shared, right, I think the idea is that there is a place for composting. And one of the things that I think we know in our region, and is that I think the state of Michigan did in November 23, they did a sort of an analysis of food waste and trying to figure out what can we do as cities or as municipalities. And it's just not efficient to have cities pick up food waste. And so I'm thinking about hubs, or trying to figure out how do we, right? We've got a food waste hauler with My Green Michigan, I think. Right, we've got Hammond Farms, and I think, Sean, are you doing vermicompost, trying to create higher quality stuff too? Is that accurate?
Yep. We also have vermicompost.
Yeah.
Correct.
So what I'm thinking about is sort of if I know that the city of Lansing is trying to do a drop-off stuff, right, this year. So what I'm with those sort of, I'll say, inspirations, now back to Meridian Township and the market, right, and this idea of a hub or someplace where I think there's a subscription an idea of like people subscribing and like bringing their food scraps to the market, and that makes it more efficient. Yeah, but the market runs all year round, and it runs, I think there's a Wednesday and a Saturday, right? Times there's different, yeah, peaks and valleys, but I guess I don't know if I want to try to bite off or try to discuss the compost side, or like how to increase food waste diversion, right, from the landfills with three or more of us, right, who are all interested in that. But I do want to suggest that could be an interesting additional piece to this, right? Like I think it's hard to do two things at once. So I want to focus on really cups and what has been suggested as a way to increase the capacity. But yeah, and I'm seeing Sean's. So I guess I'm thinking about this green dialogue. I know Leroy, and I've never met Leroy, Sean or Jennifer before. So I just wanted, before you all left, I wanted to make sure. Hey, let's talk.
We certainly should talk, MC. I'd be happy to meet with you afterwards and talk more on this. But as I threw in the chat, I totally agree. Hubs are a way of doing it. There's several other counties and municipalities. I think of Emmett County that has organics at every one of their public drop-off centers. I think there's 5 of them. As a composter, and as you know, contamination is what we worry about, and that's what you find with curbside is contaminations through the roof. And there's repeated stories and some data that the people who carry their compost to a hub care a little bit more just to transport it, and they're probably going to follow the rules a little bit more, provided that they're educated and given those tools and knowledge.
Right. So this is thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. And then Sarah, because what I'm interested is, like, if we did create a circular economy here, if we stick to this theme of circular, who here on this call would use the finished compost, right? Because there's the food scraps, like, and bringing it there, but then there's also, like, in order to create it truly circular, how do we wants it back, so to say? And yeah, so Sarah, maybe.
So I was just thinking, I think a lot of it comes down to you're trying to get people to bring it to somewhere. And maybe it's the kind of thing where, because we have that wonderful 10-cent on cans, maybe it's the kind of thing where we work with Meijer and say, can we have a hub by the recycling cans? Where can we do a hub that is close to somewhere where people take other things? They're taking their cans. Well, maybe they can take a bag of their compost, or and in locations that you have enough of them in the area, like at a Meijer or something like that, then you're not, they're easy to find, or they're easy to have people know where they are. What are the places that we can have hubs that people are near to them and willing to go to?
I'll be honest, Sarah, one of the things I'd like to do is look at markets, or like the farmers market and churches. I think that churches are another way for like sort of an organization where its members may care, right? I think you're right. I think there's positives and negatives to the idea of Meijers, but I'm just curious about, like, right, people who might, what Sean addressed, right, is like the contamination, like who might actually care enough to, like, sort of clean up the site and make sure it's, yeah.
So I'm a pastor, and I am an environmental justice for faith-based community organizing. So that could help with churches. So yeah.
Yeah. I'd also like to toss it.
Go ahead. Or yeah.
Oh, I was going to toss it over to Jennifer to just highlight that, we talked about the Lansing program, and I believe next week there is a couple of these hubs that are going up that My Green Michigan will service, and I'll lob it over to you there, Jennifer.
Yeah, I was actually just going to drop the link in the chat. There's the website is live on the city's website. We will have carts at 5 community centers throughout the city as a pilot program. It's free to participate, and they're giving out 200 buckets to the first 200 households. But it's basically the same model as at the farmers market, and that we have in other communities out in the Southeast Michigan. But yeah, we're really excited, dropping carts this week, and then, the official rollout and announcement will be on Monday. So.
And Jennifer, when we use the word hub, and you said the same model, are you referring to it as a hub, or is it drop off, or are those two different unique things? Yeah.
We use the word drop-off program, like food scrap drop-off program, is kind of the way that we refer to it. I think a hub is maybe more applicable to kind of what is being discussed here at the farmers market, having a multitude of approaches and addressing kind of like all aspects of the like waste hierarchy and not just focusing on composting.
So yeah, I guess a couple things. I think education, kind of paraphrasing Edison, where he talked about 99% perspire, inspiration. I think our work is going to be about 99% education, 1% implementation. Well, maybe more, but to get people to think differently about waste when we're so used to just throwing things away is just a pretty heavy lift, and it's going to take some work. And granted, we probably have a really good community of people to target and to work through that and learn with and learn from, because they're not going, they're coming to the farmers market. They already have some intentionality there. But I think that's the part that also makes it exciting, is that I kind of look at the farmers market as a laboratory, and it's a great learning opportunity. And it's a great place to try these different things that or bring back old things, which is kind of what we're doing with the cafeteria idea. It's like, that's this, disposable single-use plastics is only a recent problem or phenomena. So trying to get back to the way things might have used to been is part of what we need to do. But I think education and how we educate and what are the most effective ways to get people to think about being part of this, and what are the barriers that they have personally to participating, is going to be part of that process.
Yeah, I think this is a better time for me to jump in, because I was going to take it back to contamination / education, because there are people who care, but they just don't understand how the process works sometimes. I know I think it's the city of Detroit, of somebody I talked to, they run the recycling program. Instead of charging people for the bin, if they were willing to take a course and pass a test, they got their bin for free. And so maybe we could do something like that. If you test your knowledge and you get some sort of perk or benefit.
Yeah.
To teach them, and they can be involved, and then hopefully we'll do it the right way and avoid contaminants.
Right.
One idea that occurs is there's a lot of stuff going on at the markets. Like there's this gleaning initiative now. We got volunteers every week collecting food. I'm wondering what there might be some partnerships with some of these other like-minded groups to educate, to provide sort of a consistent message about waste reduction, recycling options, green team involvement. I'm just thinking out loud here.
No, I appreciate that a great deal, Leroy. And I think that's part of what I heard in the vision that was, shared with, the idea that we're not just talking about reusing, we're also talking about recycling. There's a piece. I feel like it does have to be like, we have to divert the food that's still usable, not just throw it in the compost immediately, right? I think that, and if we can keep it local, right? I think there's so many times when it feels like we can create more work by, I guess, siloing these ideas. And that's what I was hearing, Leroy, is like the idea that like maybe there's something happening with the gleaners who aren't composting this stuff, but maybe there's some stuff that's already so far gone, right? I wonder if, like how that works with with the bin, all those, and then, oh, if it's in the clamshell already, like the food, or if it's in, you know, it's at the or strawberries and the cardboard could be recycled, but it's, you know, all those pieces feel sort of interesting to sort of tease out, but it is, we create a lot of work for ourselves, right? Trying to, right? How we do it, gosh, it feels like we want to just change the culture, don't we?
Well, and that's kind of what it's going to take a little bit, because our idea about waste is just you get it as far away from you as quickly as possible. Because you don't want to own it and you don't want to take responsibility for it. And so we're trying to help people take a little bit more responsibility for, or eliminate the need to take responsibility, because you don't own any of it. You just get your food and you're done, you know? So
maybe there's something related to what's the movement in parks where you take your trash with you when you go. I mean, maybe there's something similar to that where you promote the idea of either don't make trash or take it with you when you go.
Right.
Does that leave no trace?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. But we've just made it so easy for people to throw stuff away. And then now we're sort of bearing the consequence of that.
Pack in, pack out. Yep. I do wonder, because there is, right, I think the tricky part here is that we are talking about local economies. So I think there's this tricky piece here where we want to encourage people to buy things, right, from local vendors and like from local markets. And then there's also like, oh, but we want to reduce, right? So it just feels like there's a, you know, like, don't buy so many things because then you don't have to throw it out, make it at home. So there's this real sort of like, I can get stuck sometimes, honestly, like trying to figure out the one message or the one thing we have to say. It's almost like, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we need to make it fun too.
Always. Drudgery is no fun.
That should be your assignment, MC.
I had an idea to make it fun, but without a support system, it was hard. And so I kind of stepped back. I wanted to do zero waste cooking class challenges and have 4 different categories: cooking with less energy, cooking with scraps, reducing your food mileage, and cooking without getting food in packaging. That could be interesting.
It sure would. And it reminds, so I think Amanda put a little event model in here about, you know, a punch card or a stamp. And like,
yeah,
if you take that class, then maybe you, you know, you go into the food waste bin at the market and see what you can still use, you know, because the bananas are still good or whatever.
Yeah.
We have
that could be fun.
We have about 10, 12 more minutes. What other, if you haven't had a chance to say your 2 cents, feel free to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'd really like to hear if there's any thoughts people have on the idea.
I'm curious if you have like a newsletter that goes out to vendors, or how do general participants find out about what goes on at the market? Are they just reading from Meridian Township News, or what kind of vehicles do you have?
I mean, directly to the vendors, I do weekly, multi-week emails about, they're just, I mean, it's really specific. Like, here's a map, here's where you're going to be located, here's how you make your payments, here's what the temperatures are going to be and the wind, direct, whatever, all that stuff. So that, a very environmental focused sort of thing about what their conditions are going to be. I don't do a regular communique that's more, I guess, more focused on sharing the kind of stuff we're talking about, which is probably something that I, ought to start. And if I want to change the culture, got to have conversation. The township itself, and we also use Facebook and Instagram or whatever for, getting the word out about the market. The township has weekly, quarterly, and annual publications that go out to the whole Meridian Township. Various, The weekly are electronic. The yearly is printed. The quarterly are also, I think, electronic or something. So there are definitely vehicles for trying to reach out to the public. But there isn't a farmers market newsletter. There used to be. But I just haven't had the capacity to do that. And that probably is something we need to work toward.
Okay.
Thank you. That's great, thing to think about.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any thoughts that they want to share? If you haven't had a chance to get a word in edgewise, Sam?
Just maybe a quick, I think this is, obviously great things that, a great idea and should be pushed forward. And I don't really maybe understand all the obstacles and why, why we just can't do it. But I know there's more to it than I'm understanding. But then the other question would be, is anybody already doing it? There's with some research, other states or other cities, is there a way to partner up or learn from what other people are doing to kind of grease the wheels on it?
Right. I have not done that research, and I can't believe that we're the first people.
That's
idea.
what I'm thinking. Yeah.
It doesn't seem that it could be that seminal. So yeah, I think that's one place we need to go. I'm sure Kendra has probably done a lot more research in this area, but maybe not specifically around farmers markets. So I need to reach out and kind of learn, like, who is already doing this and how well did it go, and what did they, what barriers did they run into, or what opportunities did they not expect that, made it work out great. So no, I think it's pretty valid.
Brian?
If I miss something, I'll cop to this while I'm listening. I'm getting crushed in the office. So I've got two monitors, I'm multitasking. So if this is off topic, I apologize. But if you're talking about reusable containers and you're asking who already does this, breweries. I can take my empty growler to Old Nation. Well, not right now because they're not open, but you know what I mean. Today, they'll sanitize it on site and fill it. And that's a reusable container. I'm curious why that's okay. Because when you're saying restaurants can't fill my reusable container, they can't make reusable. Well, who's better at sanitizing dishes than restaurants? I can't clean dishes as well as a restaurant. It just seems
right.
No fault of anybody here. The best thing I heard, it's a systematic change, and there's a lot of problems in the system, and this is one of them.
Thanks, Brian.
Well,
but since it's my job from a zoning perspective, it sounds fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, right.
We'll move ahead now.
Well, and this is the issue that we're trying to fix in the schools too, because you have a plastic tray that goes every single day. I mean, we've gathered them and taken them to DART and recycled them and stuff, but it's the same problem in schools. Not that you can do necessarily a container, that you're not going to do that, but it's still that systemic issue of trying to figure out how to change and educate and adjust how food is going to be moved around. And I know in Okemos, with the new schools going up, they're going to try to go back to what I had as a kid, where we had a tray that got washed on site. But it's the unfortunate issue of lots of different places.
If we had some cups to distribute, I mean, we do have some green grant funds that could buy a few batches of cups. Maybe we could just get something smart printed on them and begin to promote the idea. I'd bring my cup back, potentially, at least 25% of the time.
gotta bring it back, otherwise you get charged.
Yeah, I love the idea of starting with cups. My 2 cents would be start with a phased approach and don't try to do it all because you'll get bogged down. You'll never get it done. Start with baby steps and keep expanding the program. And cups may be a good, gateway drug to reusables sort of deal. So that's I would definitely support that. And again, with cups, it's easier. There's less contamination and that sort of stuff. It feels like with cups than when you get and muddy the waters with the other compostables and stuff. So 100% agree on that. I just would recommend a phased approach for rolling this out.
Totally agree. Yeah.
So Roy, this is Roberta. Okay. A couple of comments. 10 or 15 years ago, nobody carried their own water bottle. Now everybody carries a water bottle. People can change. And I think I like the idea of bring your own cup. If you don't bring your own cup, you're going to pay an extra fee to get a cup. Also, I'm wondering whether the 2 women who were here from the communications area at Township, whether they would be available to assist with a market, some kind of a market newsletter. And my third thought is my sister lives in Davis, California, and UC, University of California, Davis has an annual event called Picnic Day, and their entire system is reusable and compostable. So there's another municipality anyway you might consider checking with. That's it.
Great ideas. Any other parting comments or words of wisdom from folks as we get into our last 5 minutes here?
A question there, Leroy, with not food, but at the market, vegetables and other things that are for sale. I unfortunately haven't been there to know, but what do people carry? How do the people carry that stuff out? Do they get like a bag from every vendor, or, is there a no bag policy other than buying a reusable cloth bag that maybe they bring back the next time they come to the market? I'm just curious if this kind of fits into the same kind of mode here.
We currently do not have a no plastic policy, so a lot of vendors use plastic t-shirt bags. They are so convenient. And a lot of produce is wet, and so but yes, there are definitely alternatives. I mean, the state of California has made it really, really difficult to use plastic bags, and they have some great farmers markets. So obviously there are, again, models to learn from out there and how they do that. But that is definitely one of those things that I would like to, I see as part of this. But I don't think it's where I want to start, but I think it's part of the whole package of trying to get away from single-use, unsustainable crap.
Great.
Amanda had an unrelated question, which somehow I think is probably related.
I don't think so. It's about filter strips. I was at the Red Cedar River Days on Sunday, and I was talking about filter strips, and the very disgruntled participant said, I need to talk to Meridian Township because apparently, I mean, this is all hearsay. That's why I wanted to ask you guys. He thought that there was an ordinance that was before the township that was going to be revoked due to a developer to eliminate one of your filter strip requirements that is currently on the books.
No.
And
nope. I've gotten asked about this a couple times. No one.
And I mentioned your name, Brian. I said,
that's
I'd
fine.
be happy to talk to someone about that. And he said, well, who'd you talk to? And I said, I would talk to Brian Sharkey. And he said, no, you need to talk to Tim Schmidt? Is that
You
your
can talk
boss?
to Tim, you can talk to me. We're gonna tell you the same thing. No one is
Okay.
pitching an ordinance to eliminate our wetland buffer.
Okay, good. Whew, I was really, really very concerned. And so I'm very happy to hear that. Okay, good.
Yes.
Well, I hope you all come back and continue this conversation. A lot of interesting ideas came up, and we should certainly revisit it frequently. If you have other thoughts that you want to share with Tom or Kendra, MC, Sean, Jennifer, encourage you to reach out to them. I don't know if you guys have a chance to just put your email in the chat window. But it's been a rich conversation. Any parting comments anyone has before we?
I do have a just a kind of coincidental note with all the composting discussion that's been going on here. Kim and I both attended a green burial related discussion last night, and probably 50% of that was human composting, where it is becoming more and more accepted across the country. And I think I believe they said 19 states now where it is legal to do so. So it just kind of a interesting tie-in to the whole composting discussion, not necessarily farmers market related. No dropping off bodies.
Or poop.
Thank you. We've had several conversations about green burial and hope to have a few more. If you are a Meridian resident and willing to stay an extra couple of minutes, I just have a question to share with you. But I do want to thank you all for being here, for MC, Sean, Jennifer, Tom, Kendra, and all of you. Hope to see you again next week. And Sarah, Bruce, Tom, if you could stick around for just a minute. Anyone else who's a Meridian resident? I have a question for you.
Well, thank you. And
Thanks.